All right, so here we are. We are live. You might hear the baby monitor in the back. I was just getting the kids settled. We should be good now. Um, Still got to plug in my laptop so we don't die on stream here. And yeah, there's lots of creaks from my wonderful chair I need to replace. This chair's been getting a lot of use lately, though, so that's good. Um, so, anyways, hope you're all doing well. I know it's been a couple weeks since I did a live stream. But we're back. Was able to sort out my tech issues recently. Um, so if you've watched any of my games lately, you'll see at times I've had to jump to using cameraless overlays, unfortunately. And I messed with all the settings. I read hours and hours about OBS. And the one thing that my wife pointed out to me was one setting. Was using my software rather than the hardware. But I didn't see an option to use hardware. And it's because I had it on advanced rather than simple in OBS. So that kind of sucked. But it's all better now. So Logos Sarsgaard says, "Sup, Juice? How are you doing through all of this madness?" That's a great question. Honestly, I'm doing pretty good. I think I've got this new normal down. Kind of sucks being cooped up all the time. I'm someone who, for the longest time, I've liked to. I'm a social introvert, first of all. So I love getting out and being very social with people and meeting new people and hanging out with people. Unfortunately, when things get I start to feel overwhelmed if I do it a lot. So then I need to take a couple days to stay inside. So I'm okay with being alone and being inside and things like that. However, since this has started, I'm never alone. And I know people are like, "Oh, wait, how is that the case?" I have 3 children and a wife, So the 3 children demand a ton of attention. And now that they're cooped up, it feels like they purposely pick fights with each other and cause problems. So I never get my alone time like I used to. However, I'm starting to kind of get that figured out. At night, a couple times a week, I come out here by myself when I'm not streaming a game that night. Work on some things for fun. I'll watch some Netflix or something that a friend sends me. So I'm doing pretty well though with that. So I'm still figuring out little things at the moment to be comfortable in this chaotic time. I've started working on my own system, my own RPG system. I know some people are like, "Oh, that's crazy." My friend, I actually started it a while ago. I'm someone who always gets ideas going back 5, 6, 10 years ago. In the past, I've started putting ideas down on pieces of paper, and I've got a notepad app on my phone where I put different ideas for systems. Nothing, but a couple ideas here and there, really, when it comes down to it. So, anyways, I started typing up my latest idea. Originally, it started as a Google Doc where I was typing up an idea I had to send to somebody based on a conversation. And I was like, "Yeah, if it works something like this, yada yada yada," and I put my ideas down, and he didn't quite get it and stuff like that. But anyways, I started fleshing it out more, and my friend Aaron Bryant, who is working on his own system called Rad Wasteland. He ran the game here on this channel. It's a post-apocalyptic, Wild West, steampunk feeling kind of setting. I played a droid in the, or a robot of some sort in the Rad Wasteland one shot we did, and it was a lot of fun. Uses narrative dice. He's got his own dice app in his Discord, and it's very similar to the Fantasy Flight game Star Wars, and it was inspired by that. Since we played, he has changed the dice mechanics to their own thing. He's going to make his own logos for him and all this cool stuff. It's going to be really cool. I have no doubt. And he had sent me his doc, which was like Right. Yes. I don't know why it stopped working. You gotta go inside. Okay. Yeah, that's a bummer. I don't know how long that was going on. So anyways, started talking about my campaigns I have going on. I have my Descent into Avernus game, which is every 4 weeks on Saturdays. We just had it this past Saturday. Luke from the DM Lair, Nate from WASD20, and Jake from Mini Terrain Domain, as well as my wife, Paula, from Awkwardly Nerdy. And, so they are in the game. And there. Yeah, so, sorry, there's a delay too. So when I saw that, it was much later. So, yeah, I had to unplug and replug it in. So, I don't know why. Okay, cool. So anyways, we had a game Saturday. They went to the Low Lantern, and I thought the game was going to go off book. And I'm not going to give away any spoilers, but one of the things the players were like, "Oh, we should do this, or we could do this," and I was thinking to myself, "Okay, cool, we're about to go off book. This is going to be crazy. I don't know what to expect." And actually, it probably would have been way cooler than anything in the book, to be honest. But anyways, so we have that on Saturdays. Wednesdays we have our Forgotten Throne game, so that'll be tomorrow night. We have a half orc who is very much like the Mandalorian, and we started our campaign before that show. It was funny, after like the second or third episode of that show, one night we were playing and we're like, wow, we basically have Baby Yoda in the Mandalorian. And since then our half orc fighter has changed quite a bit. He's experienced some things that have changed him. And oh shoot, my door's open. I'll have to go fix that real quick. And then Lady Tiefling, who was playing a Tiefling soul sorcerer, she was kind of like our Baby Yoda. And since that, she actually dropped after season 1. She had a home game that she was going to be playing. So yeah, so she's not in it anymore, but yeah. So anyways, that was a lot of fun, and we're still playing. We've got Tom still, who's playing his half-orc fighter, 1 level cleric, and then we have his wife, Laura, playing an arcane archer, which she won when her first session. She was level 6, and she did like 70 points in a round before my enemy got a chance to do anything. That was ridiculous. And then my friend Paul. So we're running 3 players on Wednesdays. There's a chance we might add a 4th player. I'm not sure yet. It's not like something we have to do, but there's a chance we might add a 4th player. If you're interested, head over to our Discord. You can find the link in the description below. That's where I tend to pull my players from these days. And we've got, let's see, what other games are we playing? I've got my Black Rock Adventures game, which was an in-person game that I've been working on getting together for over a year now. We played 2 sessions now. The last session we had streaming issues because, again, like I said earlier, I had OBS setting problems, which I've sorted out since then. And now the only issue I have with OBS is sometimes my camera stops working or sometimes my microphone stops working. So there is that problem. But yeah, ultimately, things are going well, I would say. We've got those 3 games. Was supposed to play a new superhero game called Super's Age with the game designer, and he had to reschedule. So we have not played that yet. There's a couple other games I'd like to play. I was talking to someone over at Green Ronin about playing Fantasy Age or Dragon Age on the channel, and I don't know what happened, but communication seemed to fall out, so I might have to follow up with that. But I would love to play Fantasy Age or Dragon Age on this channel. It's something that I've got the books right here. I've got my Fantasy Age book. Boom, it's right next to me almost all the time, and I've got my Dragon Age book right here. So I'm ready. I can make a character. I think I haven't tried yet. I should probably make some so I at least have some pre-gens. But I think I'm going to be on my own to try and run it. One thing I hate about these, I love this book, by the way. It's gorgeous. I loved the size of it when I got it. But if you look, because it sits on a bookshelf, all the pages slid to the bottom. Whereas look at the top. See that? You can tell the downside of having heavy books. Um, but yeah, this book is gorgeous, and obviously the video game's a lot of fun. So here's the map insert, but gorgeous 3D6 based system. Looks simple enough. Some people say the game's broken and a pain in the butt, but I don't know. And then I also got my D&D books right here too, because I play a lot of 5th edition. So I've talked about this before. This book, I haven't read a ton, you can see, but I'm proud. What page am I on? I'm on page like 67. I think there's about 600 pages. This book is really good. It's changed how I run monsters, and it's meant for 5th edition based on the attributes and stuff. But you can take what you learn from this and apply it to any game, and it's a fantastic book. If I end up having monsters in my game that I haven't, read about, I flip to that page and read it real quick. And then I'm like, oh, it makes sense. It's all about tactics and how they should act. Recently got this book too. My wife got it for me, so I've been reading this. I work in sales, so having this is kind of nice. And some of the stuff kind of applies to, running a YouTube channel, so it's kind of cool. Gary Vaynerchuk, jab, 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 right hook. Big fan of Gary. But, yeah, we've talked about it. It looks like because of what's going on, we are having no plans to play an in-person game with anyone who doesn't live in our house for the year, which is sad. We had 2 in-person games, and I was thinking about reaching out to some friends that I know are big into board games and seeing if they wanted to get something going as well before all this happened. And obviously that didn't pan out. So I have no intentions of going to any gaming conventions this year because of what's going on, no matter what, whether they cancel or not. My Wednesday group, we were originally planning on going to Gen Con. Everyone individually was planning on going, and then we were going to try and meet up and maybe play a game in person there. But I will not be going to that. Was going to go to Nerdarchy, the convention, obviously because of this. That won't happen. I know right now they're postponing it, but if it's in the year 2020, we won't be going. So already missed a wedding, all that negative stuff that just kind of sucks. But there's good coming of all this. There really is. I really believe that. People who have never played online are now trying to play online. And I think, I'm sure that's helping things like Roll20 and Fantasy Grounds and things like that. Like I said, I'm working on my own system right now. That's a lot of fun. I've been working on doing more world building. I'm auditing how I run games more. Like I have a little bit more time now, so I'm able to do these things. Looks like maybe middle of next month I'll be on Nerdarchy for a live stream, so that'll be fun. I'm back to doing my live streams. On Thursday we have a guest, Becky Rose from Con Plus. This year to be Con Plus 3. It's an online gaming convention. She'll be on here on Thursday. Next week, someone named Xander, who just started working on a wrestling RPG, will be on. And, so good is coming of this, right? Meeting new people just because you have more time to socialize online. It's always good. So, yeah, I think there's going to be a lot of good things. I see a lot of... Obviously, there's a lot of bad that's coming of it, but I think you're going to see everything will adapt, right? I think, the way we play games might adapt a little more. You might see more advancements with technology that make it easier to play online because of this. And, yeah, so I'm just trying to look at it in a positive way, Not always easy to do, but you got to, right? Paul and I have not been painting miniatures much lately. We were doing some online streams where she was painting miniatures, and I started doing it. I'm terrible at painting miniatures, so I started mapping instead because I wanted to finish my homebrew world. And I did a little bit. I got I've got 3 regions mapped out. In fact, here's one. This is for my Wednesday game. I think, yep, this is for my Wednesday game. So here's one of my maps. Not as good as someone like Nate from WASD20, but it works. I can tell where everything is. I can show my players, and we're having fun. So that's always good. Lone Wolf says Green Ronin is sponsoring us again. By the way, oh, that is awesome. Lone Wolf, who are you? Are you from Con Plus 3? Are you one of them? Are you Becky Rose? Are you? I love Green Ronin. I think they do a good job of on their systems and on their books. I like I said, I like Fantasy Age a lot. Dragon Age I like a lot. I've never played them, but I like how they're written. I've read both of those books. I don't read a ton of gaming books, unfortunately, because it just gets hard for me to read cover to cover. But I have read the whole Fantasy Age book cover to cover. The Dragon Age book, I think I stopped at some point, but I read most of it. In fact, I'm going to look at it real quick to see if I can tell where I left off. Again, this book is just so pretty. So pretty. I love pretty RPG books. Oh, Jason. Okay, yeah. Didn't recognize you by the name. We played together in Provokers once. That was awesome. I remember being so surprised that you were playing with us. All right. I definitely got to the DM section. Or Game Master section. I think I remember reading the Mass Battles. Yep, Epic Campaigns. Read that. I probably was in about 250 to 300 pages in. Easy. But yeah. Green Ronin's a good company. Chris Pramus. I'm friends with him on Facebook. He was on Tabletop with Will Wheaton. And he's well versed in the industry. I think he worked for D&D when they did 3rd edition, and then he started Green Ronin, I think, right after that. I don't know how far back his D&D goes back, but I think it was pretty far, like early 90s maybe even. But yeah, anyways, maybe it was about a little over 300 pages on there. Great gaming book. Now, I like the system from reading this. The one thing I don't like is the art style. I've said it before. While I like it in some pictures, I'm not a fan of the art style in the monsters for sure. And then their monster manual, which I have over there, or their bestiary, I think it's called. I'm trying to look and see if I can see it on my shelf. I don't know. It's over there somewhere. The monster art is just too colorful for me. I don't know. But it's still cool. We did during the wee hours of the morning for me. I've changed my username recently anyway. So no worries. Yeah, for sure. It used to be like Rogue DM, I think. But yeah, it's cool. Glad to have you, Jason. I'm excited to have Becky on Thursday. So I've tried to think of some questions to ask her, and more just some things I'm interested in learning about. And I think you guys have picked up the mantle with Child's Play, if I remember correctly. So I good cause for that convention. And last time you guys did it, I did tune in for some things, and it looked like you had some like battle simulators based on like how much people donated or something. That was cool as hell. Are you kidding me, huh? I miss Champions and Rift. So I never played Champions. I always wanted to get into that because my first RPG was a superhero game, unless you count Hero Quest. But yes, Heroes Unlimited by Palladium Books was my first RPG. And we played that a couple sessions, and then the GM took us into Rifts, which I didn't want to play Rifts, but our hero characters went to Rifts. Only played, I think, one more session after that. We only played a couple. And then after that, I had like 3 books that I had bought, and so basically for the next like 5 to 10 years, all I did was create characters because I couldn't find a group to play it. And that was '97 till I graduated high school in 2003. Um, New people who played D&D third edition, they told me their group was full, and it was. It was like a couple brothers, neighborhood kids, not by me. They lived somewhere else, and they played a lot. And they had all their boyfriends and girlfriends in the game. I think it was like 8 to 12 people in that game, and they played on an air hockey table. So, but yeah, so they played, and I couldn't play with them. And then I played a little bit through the Palladium Books chat room, and as a player and as a game master, did a play by post game, and then got away from RPGs until about 2010 when I met my wife, and she got me into D&D Advanced, and I ran Heroes Unlimited for her, and our gaming group was my sister, her husband, and then my wife. And then after a couple of years, we moved to Grand Rapids. So around like 2014, 13, somewhere in there, and we started playing Advanced with her brother as the DM, and then I started running Pathfinder. I played a little bit of Palladium Fantasy before that, before we had moved. But yeah, so got into Pathfinder hardcore, bought a ton of books, ran like 3 games, and played in like 2 or 3 games. Not very many. And then 5th edition came out, and I've been hooked ever since. Like die hard into it. Obviously, I started my channel in 2012 because I was trying to learn more about RPGs. I was trying to talk to people who played RPGs, and we back then you could do more more social, like video responses and things like that. I could go to a video, watch the video, and go, oh, I'm gonna do a video response, record it, and then tag it as a video response, and it would show up underneath that video on YouTube. It was the great, like, I don't know a creator from back then who doesn't wish we still had that feature. And you could make it so your video didn't allow video responses too. But yeah, being able to like say, oh, I'm going to do a video response to my friend over here, and it's going to show up so people can follow the conversation back and forth. That was awesome. Yeah, my wife got me back into it. And now she's mildly into it, and I'm hardcore into all of it. She's running a family home game for us of Tomb of Annihilation, but her brother and his wife and their 14-year-old son is into it, or is a player. And now we can't play. We can't, meet up, and trying to organize online for that. It's like, oh, we could have a camera on those 3, and we could have 2 cameras on us, but her and I would have to play in a separate room. And it might work, but it might not because of the internet lag. Having 3 people in one camera, so we haven't tried. Plus, they're not as into online geek play as much. They might be. I don't know. Maybe it's something we have to run by them and see if we can sort it out. But I have no intentions of us actually figuring that out anytime soon. But who knows? Maybe they'll try it and maybe they'll like it. Maybe it'll work out. That would be kind of cool. But yeah, so we've got... yeah, that's one of our... Man, we have 3 in-person games now that I think about it that are all forced to be online now. So, yeah, in fact, we just had a text the other night from her brother, and he's like, yeah, we miss playing D&D with you guys. They live, like, 10 minutes away from us. They're like, it's not far. It's just one little drive away. It's not far, unfortunately. But yeah. And then, so like I said, I'm trying to audit myself. I go through these weird phases with running games where I feel like I run really good, not really good, but I run decent games and I'm happy with it. And then all of a sudden, I don't know what happens. I forget how to like prep. I forget how to, run a game. And there's no explanation for it. It's just, I go in these waves. And I feel like lately, even if so I'm running, Descent into Avernus, right? I'm not someone who typically likes to run modules. Um, I've read it. I've read the chapters, that I'm running. And the other night I was running it and I felt like I got stuck a couple times. Like, I don't know what it was. I was like, I don't even know what to do with this. Like, I don't know how to run a game all of a sudden. I'm like a noob all over again. And it just doesn't make sense to me. So anyways, I'm auditing myself. I'm going to watch my game back because it was streamed. Figure out ways that I think I can make the game better. I'm going to change a little bit about how I prep. Whereas before I'd be like, oh, okay, they're doing this. Bloop. If they do this, this roughly is what happens, yada, yada, yada. I'm going to try and write it out as scenes, kind of like when I run more homebrew games. Like my Wednesday game, I kind of plan out scenes a little bit. I do all my random encounters, I roll for them outside of game. So I've already prepped for tomorrow's session. However, I'm going to go over my prep again today. I don't remember if I rolled for random encounters. But if I roll a random encounter, I still prep it, a couple days ahead of time. So it allows me to make everything... The intent is to make everything feel like it's supposed to be there rather than, oh, it's a random encounter. However, I don't always succeed. I do have a tendency to sometimes be a little lazy in my prep, unfortunately. And I've read The Lazy Dungeon Master, and I love what Sly Flourish has in there. Need to get the new one. But yeah. Are You Kidding Me, huh? Says, IDM 2 games, Mad Mage and Acquisitions Incorporated. Okay. Yeah, so I was reading Acquisitions Incorporated. I never finished it because Descent into Avernus came out. So that's kind of what happens. I start reading a book. One, it's hard for me to just sit there and read it cover to cover without like getting sidetracked by something else. And sometimes new things come out that I buy, and then I never really come back to reading it. However, I thought there was some cool stuff in Acquisitions Incorporated, for sure. And I think it would be fun to run a more comedic Acquisitions Incorporated style game. A lot of people praise Critical Role for their online viewing pleasure. Acquisitions Incorporated is my favorite D&D to ever watch. Love Chris Perkins. People rave about Matthew Mercer. For me, Chris Perkins is my dream. Speaking of which, Jasper's Game Day this weekend over on Mini Terrain Domain. Chris Perkins, I believe, is running a game. I don't know if it's going to be on Mini Terrain Domain or some other channel, but go follow Fenway Jones, Mini Terrain Domain Jake, and look for Jasper's Game Day. This weekend they're raising money. It's like a suicide awareness. Not suicide awareness. Suicide hotline charity. So, things like that. So, great cause. You can go watch. You can go donate and contribute to their streams. I have no affiliation. I'm not running any games. I'm hoping to tune in and watch a little bit, especially the Chris Perkins game for me, if I can find it. I'm just a huge Chris Perkins fan. Love the guy. His GMing style and everything. Obviously, Acquisitions Incorporated does not strike me as his normal style of play, but the fact that he's willing to go with it with his players is awesome. And I've watched him do some other games before, and things like that. So, excuse me, I'm gonna yell. Shoo! Ooh, I got a headache, so that didn't feel very good. So, anyways, but yeah, Chris Perkins is the man, easily. I would love. So a while back, I talked to Kevin Sembita from Palladium Books at Grand Con. This had to have been like 5 years ago, and he was like, "Yeah, email me and we'll work something out." Since I never could get something worked out where he'd run a game, or maybe have him on for an interview, or just something, and never happened. So, but I would still be very interested in working something like that out. We had some interesting conversations that weekend. I talked to him a few times because I've been a volunteer for Grand Con in the past, and so I'm just standing there, and he obviously knows I like Palladium Books because I went and talked to him a couple times when I wasn't on shift, and then so he'd come up and start talking to me, especially on the last day, and again, we had good conversations. But yeah, I've never played in a game with Kevin. However, I did play in a game with Julius. I think that's his name, Julian, who works for Palladium Books at a library in Westland. We played Rifts. I remember we fought some harpies. I remember one of the players was a juicer, acting like Macho Man Randy Savage. A juicer is somebody who's hopped up on drugs. They have like hoses hooked up to them, and it gives them their abilities. Slows the world down around them. They're super fast, super strong. It takes a lot more to hurt them. They're just basically souped up on drugs. And dude was playing him as Macho Man in a Speedo. It was hilarious. And I was playing a ex-coalition soldier. My wife was playing a elementalist or something like that. I don't think she was a mind melter. I don't know. She was some kind of something. I think an elementalist or something. And I probably have the character sheet around here somewhere, probably in my Rifts book. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And I've always wanted to play with Kevin because I've heard people say he's really good at running games. So they have a sumo juicer. I believe it. I really stopped following Palladium. I still get the newsletter, but I've really stopped following anything they do. A while ago, at one point I was waiting for them to release more Palladium fantasy books. Gosh, this had to have been around like 15 or 16 before like the Byzantium book came out, and obviously the Garden of the Gods and stuff. And I just got tired of waiting, and I sold or traded a few of my books, which I do regret doing, but at the same time I haven't played any Palladium other than one-shots, so it wasn't a big deal. But I would love to see them, do something, But, Oh, Juicer Uprising? Yeah. I was never a huge Rifts person. I have Rifts England and I think a couple others that I've gotten in grab bags over the years. I was more for Heroes, Ninja Super Spies. I had Dead Rain. I don't have that anymore. I had the core Palladium Fantasy. I had all the Palladium Fantasy books, and until I traded a few away. Now I don't know what I've got. So like Yin Sloth Jungles is still for the original game. They never redid that one. But either way, I understand. Rifts is their cash cow. I get it. And as a business, you gotta do what you gotta do to stay open. So, but yeah, and then I really want to try the new Pathfinder Second Edition. Pathfinder Second Edition. I still won't like the crunch. I know that. However, the options. I feel like Pathfinder Second Edition will be a lot of fun, and to build a character, to grow them. I don't know. I really think that would be a blast. Obviously 5e D&D is my favorite game. However, I'm kind of tired of every character feeling this. Like every fighter feels the same. Every wizard feels the same. Like there's not a ton of variety in those characters and how they play. And I do kind of miss that about 3.5 style games from like listening to them online, from playing the playtest for 5th edition, for playing Pathfinder a little bit. I liked that characters were very unique from one fighter to another or one spellcaster to another. Like it just felt different, and I do miss that. Hey, Daniel Mendoza, thanks for joining. Happy to have you. We're just kind of shooting the breeze today, just talking about some systems and what's going on. Thursday, I have Becky Rose from Con Plus on here. Her boyfriend Jason is Lone Wolf, who's watching as well right now. Do you think the newest edition of D&D will come out? What do you mean? Oh, when do I think it? Oh, I think we're a long ways away. Not anytime soon. I think you're probably looking at a minimum 5 years to even think about it. I think they probably have ideas for it, but it's not anything they're actively working on. I would love to see them do away with the attributes altogether. Like, you keep the modifiers, but what's the point in having a number that then equates to another number. Like it just seems kind of silly. Like, oh, okay, I got to roll dice. I ended up with 16, and that means +3. Like that just seems silly. Like you're doing twice the amount of work, you know. So I actually wouldn't be surprised to see that. See, on one hand, I wouldn't be surprised to see something like that go. On the other hand, there's things that I feel like the fans would be outraged about because that's not how it's been done in the past. Like people seem to hang on to it like, no, this is D&D. You change this, it's not my D&D anymore. It's something else. But yeah, I could see them trying like I could see some changes going on. I just it's a ways away. I would love to see them introduce more variety in character builds. Um, I like the idea, and this is why I'm working on my own thing. I like the idea that if I'm using a battle axe, it should feel different than if I'm using a longsword. Right now, the only difference is the flavor. But a battle axe does a 1d8 and a longsword does 1d8 damage. There is no difference mechanically or anything, just flavor. So that's something I would like to see change. So, for example, in my system, I'm trying to come up with a way to make each weapon feel different. Wouldn't that make it harder to balance things like ASI and racial traits? If you're talking about the attributes, then no, I don't think so. You just get rid of the big numbers and just use the modifiers. So you'd still the modifiers could still equate to the exact same thing. Making things different would make balance harder, yes, um, for sure it would, because now it's a whole different thing. But like you might be able to do a reach with like a spear that might make it feel different than using a long sword and or a short sword, right? What's the difference right now between a spear and a short sword? I can throw a spear. That's the only difference, right? So that might be enough. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Maybe with a spear you can block better, so you get a +1 to AC. I don't know. The math, yeah, it would totally be harder to balance, for sure, 100%. But thanks for that question, Allocest 3. I do think it would be more difficult, um, but that's okay. And I don't think so. Like even D&D 5e is not super balanced. A druid at low levels is really powerful. Like you've got a bigger hit point pool, you can cast spells, you're a good tank. So ASI lets you boost two different attributes by one. Well, yeah, you wouldn't do ASI that way. You would instead say two different attributes by one. You would boost one attribute by one. That's how an ASI, if you wanted that to be in it, would be in it. But ASI is relatively new. That wasn't something that you really had in previous editions. And it's not something that's guaranteed to be in a future edition, right? Um, who knows if what a future edition looks like. I think a lot can change over 5 years. Before 5th edition came out, everyone talked about Pathfinder and 4th edition, and you had more narrative games coming out around then, like what Fate and what else? Gosh, there was a few others that were way more narrative and less number based. Um, right now, like I'm trying to think of brand new system, but it seems like dice pools are in right now. A lot of people I talk to are interested in trying new dice pool systems, and there's just not a ton. Um, I'm not a dice pool fan typically. I do like Fantasy Flight Games' rendition of Star Wars and Genesis. I think they did a good job with that. My friend who's working on his Rad Wasteland game, I kind of like where he's going with it. But typically, I'm not a dice pool system fan. Um, but in the past, when I played dice pool games, it was different than those as well. Like maybe I wasn't playing it right, but I was playing Margaret Weiss Marvel Heroic Role Playing Game or whatever it was called. It was the Marvel Margaret Weiss game, and it was dice pool. And the main book, the first book, which is the only book I had nothing about creating characters. You had whatever characters were in the back, and then you had set missions that were in the book. I didn't feel like it was very helpful for someone who had not played a dice pool game. And we're probably talking about 8 years ago that I bought it, 9 years ago, so 2011 or 12. And so the way it explained dice pools is, as a player, you make your case for adding for why you deserve an extra die or more dice in your favor. And I was like, well, that's stupid. I don't like. I feel like that takes away from the role play aspect, and you're using this like, oh, say we'll just throw it out there. I'm Wolverine and I need to climb this wall. Well, I have claws. I can climb this wall. I should be able to add an extra positive die to my roll, and the GM would then say yes or no. So that's how it was explained to me, as well as reading the book wasn't real helpful with that. So I didn't fully understand it. So maybe I like dice pools, but based on just that, I did not like dice pools. So who knows? Who knows what a 5th edition or a 6th edition of D&D looks like? I don't know. But I'm okay with whatever they choose to do. I will try whatever it is, and we'll see how it goes. Have you ever played Shadowrun or World of Darkness games? Negative. I have not. So I was figuring this out the other day. All games I've played, I've probably played between 15 and 20 games ever. And each edition of D&D counts as a different game for me in that as well. But no, I've never played either of those. A lot of people tell me Shadowrun is a lot like Rifts. Plus, Shadowrun has, like 6 editions now, and I heard some pretty bad things about the last one, I think. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. But, and then I played Call of Cthulhu once. I don't think the horror genre of like Call of Cthulhu appeals to me. It was a fine game. I think it was run well. We had good players, but it just wasn't. I don't think it's my bag. I'm not into mysteries when it comes to RPGs. I like to play RPGs to be like an action hero. It doesn't mean all my games have to come across that way, but as a player, I like to make characters who can fight, and more martial characters tend to be my bag. My favorite I've ever played was a cleric, though. Are you kidding me, huh? Says Shadowrun is the game I always buy the books for and never play. Why don't you play them? What is it about Shadowrun that doesn't let you play it? Do you just have a hard time finding players? If you guys want to find people to play these games, on my Discord, we've got a lot of people looking for games. We've got over 100 members there now. I'm open to play more games. Recently, we've had a couple of Zweihander games on here, run by my friend Tom, which you can watch those games too if you want. Their systems of dice pool are you calculate which attributes and skills would be for the chosen action and add their number of dice. Yeah, oh yeah, that's basically how it works for like Fantasy Flight games and stuff. So, but no, I've never played Shadowrun or World of Darkness. World of Darkness, that's like vampire and stuff, isn't it? Like Vampire the Masquerade, is that what they do? I'm so not up on those. I'm sorry. Wish I was, but I'm not. I think a kid's coming. Hang on 1 second. I understand. All right, sorry about that. So yeah, I'm not as well versed with a lot of different systems as I'd like to be. I have never played Vampire or Werewolf or any World of Darkness games. Um, Obviously, I've heard like what people say about those games, but not about the mechanics of it. Um, but yeah, like I don't know. I'd be open to try it. I guess at least once. I would not run it. That's for sure. I would need a pre-gen. I'm sure there's people in my Discord who would be open to play it though. So if you wanted to run something like that, or you knew people that were looking for it, I'm sure we could get a few people to try it. Yeah. I think I've heard someone talk about the changelings, especially in World of Darkness. Gosh, who was it? I used to have somebody who used to talk about that game all the time. Who used to comment on a lot of videos and stuff. Shoot, I don't know. I can't remember. No, I've played second edition D&D, Pathfinder, 5e, Palladium, Savage World, Savage Rifts, um, 7D system, Warhammer. Don't know what edition. It was run by Tom on my channel a couple months ago. I don't even know what else. Call of Cthulhu, the D20 version, which is basically third edition D&D. What else? TMNT, Riffs. I said Palladium. I meant Heroes Unlimited, but Ninjas and Super Spies. Yeah, I don't know. I've played. What else? Yeah, I'm not well versed. I have a few systems though that I've been meaning to try, like Power Outage, but that's more of a kids RPG. I have No Thank You Evil. Oh, I've played Numenera, but I have No Thank You Evil that I've never played. Been meaning to play that with my kids. What else? Yeah, I don't know. I've watched a lot of people play some of these games. And they seem fine. They don't, when you're watching people who know the systems, all systems seem fine. No, it was Warhammer Fantasy, I think. I don't know. I'm not really 100% sure. I don't know a lot about Warhammer in general. TMNT. So as a Palladium fan, TMNT was good. Never played Stars Without Number, no. So again, TMNT is the same basic Palladium system. It's SDC, hit points. The thing that's cool about TMNT is building your own animals. So you get points based on their size, and you can put it into your animal to change it to more humanoid. And you can do or you can leave it as a complete animal and give it vocal cords or whatever. So it's kind of cool to create your own animals with TMNT, to be honest. And that's the strong part of that system. It also, in the core book, you do have the Ninja Turtles, so you can technically use them and fight like Shredder and, Foot Soldiers, and there's Casey Jones and April, and, there's all sorts of characters in there. And it's based on the comic books, not the cartoon. But when I was a kid, I liked the cartoon. So when I see these characters, I'm like, oh, I wish it was more like their cartoon character. The Terror Bears, you got 4 bears, or the face. I don't know. Maybe they're not called Terror Bears. I just call them that. Mutant Porcupine. Oh yeah, dude, you can do any animal. Any animal. Mm-hmm. Shark. I played a coyote biker mechanic in a game, and our game master let me ride it across rooftops in a motorcycle and do crazy stuff. It was fun. But that's the thing about Palladium in general. For me to have a ton of fun in it, you have to have a game master who's willing to hand wave rules. You can't play it raw. You can't play it simulationist style. I feel like you need to let players do cool shit. If a player wants to, do something crazy, sometimes disregard a roll altogether. Oh, I'd like to swing down this laundry line to this next building. Go for it. Just let them do it. Let them have some narrative fun. Because if you're playing the game and it's raw, I just feel like it falls flat at times. Same thing with most games, in my opinion, to be honest. But, if it's not gonna hurt the game, let the players do it. And again, it still has to be within reason, right? You don't want to let them abuse the physics of the world. I'm gonna jump off a 20-story building and land on my feet. No, you're not. You're dead. But if you have a superpower that allows you to jump 40 feet up in the air, You should be able to land from 40 feet, no problem. Like, you know, like there's superhero games where it's like you can jump great distances, right? But there's nothing saying about like if you fall that same distance that you can jump that you should be fine. And so I've seen DMs who will be like, "Oh, so you can jump like 40 feet in the air and land, okay? But if you fall 30 feet, all right, you just took 3d10 falling damage. Wait, why? Because you fell 30 feet. Yeah, but I can jump 40. Like that shouldn't be a problem, you know." So I do think there's some rules you kind of got to hand wave here and there, but yeah, especially with Palladium. Like I said, I like Palladium. I think especially the Heroes Unlimited. I think you can create with the Powers books if you have the three, and you have TMNT. You can make any character type you can dream of, and that's what's really cool about it. That is why when it comes to superheroes games, which I've never played Mutants and Masterminds, was supposed to with Ted from Nerdarchy, but something came up. I don't remember what. But that is still my go-to game because I can make any style character, and that's it. Like, there's no other reason. It's not because of the gameplay per se, but it's because I can make any character I can dream up. And obviously, you're not as strong as the Hulk or Superman, but you can, again, if you have a GM who's cool enough to hand wave the rules and you make your character like one of the strongest in the game, then yeah, let them throw cars around no problem, and let them bust through brick walls. Let them do the things they built the character to do. I don't care if it's impossible in real life. Yeah, I do use raw a lot, and I understand about you don't want things to be OP and break the game. I think there's a line, and I think that there needs to be like there's a reason for where you draw the line, right? If the players aren't stealing each other's spotlights, then it's okay. If it's ruining the fun for you as a game master, it's not okay though. Like if I'm making characters and or making an encounter and I want a certain feel and I cannot get that feel no matter what I do. Like I want this to be it doesn't necessarily have to be deadly, but I want to make a tough encounter, and no matter what encounter I throw at my party, it's never tough. That's no fun for me, right? If it's always easy, always a breeze, that's not fun. I like to mix it up for me as the dungeon master or game master. But if you hand wave the rules too, you need to let them know, like, hey, just so you know, I'm doing this for the rule of cool right now. I won't always necessarily rule this way. Because you don't want to have unrealistic expectations. You don't want something to be abused, right? Even spells, right? You don't want your wizard before all the party even goes into a room casting fireball on every single room. Even though that's not really that OP of a spell. There's negatives with it and things like that. You just don't want your characters to do the same thing over and over again, especially if they find that it's extremely effective. So that's me. I know that's not everybody. So I agree with you. You don't want it to be OP or break the game. Unfortunately, with Palladium, it's, I don't like the term break the game, but a lot of people think the game is broken as is. So if you're playing the game as is, fast characters with a ton of actions per round are actually less effective than not as fast characters with a lot of actions per round because of the way they've worded movement per turn or per action. If I've got 4 attacks per round and I have a better speed than the other player, you would think rather than being per action, speed should be based on the round, not the 15-second of melee, not the individual actions. And you should be able to break up that speed however you want until your speed's gone, to be honest. That's how I would probably change it. But the action economy in Palladium is just a mess. Absolute mess. That's a big gripe I have about Palladium. I think it's a fun system. I think you could change it for the better in a lot of ways. And I don't know how exactly I would change it right now. I've worked on little ideas here and there with people and came up with some cool stuff, but never anything substantial. So, yeah, you're welcome. It's just how I prefer things as a GM and a player personally. Anyone can run their games how they want. They can play in games how they want. Um, I just think there's, you gotta let people have their fun because not everyone's got the same, not everyone likes the same flavor of ice cream, right? So, a lot of people like ice cream. Most people do. Not everyone even likes ice cream, right? Some people like their Rocky Road or cookies and cream or chocolate chip cookie dough or I don't know, birthday cake remix from Cold Stone, which is awesome. Chocolate therapy from Ben and Jerry's. Oh, can you tell? I love ice cream. Haven't really had any since the quarantine stuff or whatever the corona. But yeah, so we will be doing this every Tuesday and Thursday. I will be live streaming from 1 to 2. Today, struggled getting the kids down for their naps. My 1-year old, my 1-year old sleeping, thankfully. My 5-year-old keeps coming out here because he doesn't want to sleep, doesn't want to hang out in his room for quiet time, and all that. So hopefully Thursday I can get him to sleep way before 1 o'clock, and then Becky Rose will be on here at 1. We will go live talking about Con Plus, this year's Con Plus 3. And yeah, I'm really excited about it. So tune in Thursday at 1 p.m. And yeah, next week, like I said, we'll have some more guests. Right now, I have one guest lined up. Someone I know named Xander, who's worked on his own wrestling RPG, heavily based on 5e, I believe. It's not done, not even in playtest, I don't think. But he's on my Discord. He said he wanted to come on, and I know he does his own stuff. He's got like YouTube and Instagram, and I'm sure he's got plenty of things he'll promote for you guys. So I'll let him come on, and we'll just talk for an hour. So with that, thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to go hang out with my 5-year-old, entertain him, probably do some yard work, and I will see you guys next time. So see you Thursday. Oh, and tune in tomorrow for our game, The Forgotten Throne, at about 8 p.m. Eastern. So thanks, guys. Game on.